So while I'm recording all this, the computer I use for editing decided it didn't want to do stuff, so instead of a larger project, I'm just going to do that.
Check the controls.
The rules for this run are as simple enough to understand as with most runs here. We can only inflict damage with the charge shot. Our blaster can be used to get the attention of enemies, detonate our own projectiles, and use the grapple beam, but for reasons I'll say later though, shooting Metroids to deflect them will not be allowed. I will be playing as Samus, or on the ground rather than in the gunship, to have most enemies serve some amount of challenge, and I will be playing alone where possible, as finding friends to help is hard. Additionally, because I am the CEO of Unfun, I am going to try to avoid pickups where I can. This means the assist mode power-ups, the temporary shield, the rapid-fire helmet, and hearts to regain life are all off the table. These could be abused in situations to cheese certain levels, so I'll try my best to avoid getting them where I can. Finally, if I sound a bit off, it's because of the terrible allergy season, so don't worry, I'm not violently ill. I just took forever to make this video. Anywho, I don't have any witty stuff to say in this intro, so I'll just say hi, I'm Generic Mystic, and let's see what we can do in Mission 1. In our first mission, we are introduced to the Jeemers. Little scuttlers they are, but aren't really prone to doing much other than moving around. I don't even need to cover anything in Mission 2. The Master Rank condition is to complete it only dealing damage with charge shots, so it's automatically possible for the sake of this challenge. I guess we see a new variant that is 3 health and shoots homing rockets, but otherwise it's functionally identical. So next! In Mission 3, we are introduced to a new enemy, and this one is a bit annoying. So cyclones fly and try to move away from the explosions. You can hit them, but if you suck at depth perception, it is hard. Thankfully, them trying to aggressively spin at us leaves a predictable movement path to take advantage of and take them out. Other than that, there isn't much left to talk about, so it's time to put our evasive skills to the test by gathering a total of 12 tokens on a timer in Mission 4. I don't have much advice to give other than to use the teleporters and grapple beam spots that are available in these missions. It isn't even that hard, so we can just move on. Oh. Zabesians are going to be an enemy that we become all too familiar with in this challenge, and I can guarantee that. In Mission 5, though, we just deal with 1, 2, 3, and 4 at a time. They attack by shooting from a distance or physically swiping at you should you be too close to them. Additionally, they will jump towards you if they are too far away, in some cases. As for dealing damage, we only have a small window while they are in the middle of attacking, as that is when they don't have priority to run away. Something important to note is that their projectiles can detonate your danger spheres, so take care not to friendly fire yourself. In Mission 6, we are introduced to the Cyclone Queen, which is probably one of the most annoying enemies to deal with in this run. She spawns a lot of Cyclones to protect herself, which makes our Doomsday detonation harder to hit on account of a missed shot potentially ruining the attempt. Additionally, she tends to be high in the air and move around the map in a large circular path. That isn't ideal in the slightest, as it can force us into rough spots to try and deal damage. The level itself isn't too hard though, and just serves as a taste for something that'll most certainly be a problem later. Destroy 10 Cyclones? It's a bit of a filler mission, I guess, but oh. Say hi to Ridley! He's going to be the second worst enemy to fight in the game for us. And he just randomly appears on the 7th mission of the game. Isn't this just fun? Alright, so get some cover between you and Ridley from above if you can. It'll block any projectiles he tries to rain down and gives an easy opportunity to deal damage. Annoyingly, the kaboom cannon you use can only hit 1 weak point per blast, so you'll have to do it 9 times instead of roughly 3. I'd go over what Ridley can really do, but because of the cover, I don't really see a point to during this level, so I'll just come back to it when it's relevant. Once Ridley is dealt with, just take care of the Cyclones you have yet to defeat and move on to the next level. Other than the lava hazard, there isn't really anything new in Mission 8 that we hadn't seen before, and all the enemies can be handled well enough. Skip! We are brought back to this stage in Mission 9 to collect 12 tokens once more. Like before, grapple beam and teleporter your way to victory because, let's be honest, despite there being a fair bit of enemies and even an ambush, it isn't really hard to win. It's time for Kraid! This fight is barely different from a regular playthrough. Sure, your shot placement needs to be a bit better to hit the weak points, but given that the only actual way to damage Kraid is through charge shots, this level is over fast enough. My only other bit of advice is to deal with the Zebesians that spawn from Kraid, as their projectiles could add unneeded difficulty for you. To best deal with them, detonate the bomb at the back of the platform after they fire their 3 shots. This will dunk them into the lava, eliminating the threat entirely in one blow. During the 3rd phase, you'll want to pick off the weak points and Zebesians on the bottom and middle layers so that you can have somewhat safe footing to deal with the one at the top layer. And finally, once you're at the top, shoot the spheres into the maw of the beast and claim victory over your first proper boss fight. Mission 11. You have 5 minutes to destroy 100 Gemers with a new variant added that detonates upon defeat. Doesn't impact our run. Next. In Mission 12, you get introduced to the ice variant of Zebesians in this level, which are a bit more difficult to dodge due to the increased number of projectiles. You can potentially avoid taking damage, though, when frozen if the enemies don't get to you fast enough, but that's hinged on something that most people would call luck, so don't rely on it. Other than that, nothing is too challenging for a run, so on to the next level. Okay, so in Mission 13, we're introduced to Metroids. In order to get the chance to hit the Metroids, though, you need to freeze them first. In this level, that can only be done using the freeze beam, which replaces our charge attacks. As a solo player, this level is impossible for our challenge. It was bound to happen at some point, and here we are. We can use multiplayer and have one player freeze the Metroids and the other damage them, though. We will have to repeatedly refreeze the Metroids, though, in order to deal the damage needed to win. Once you have the process down, it's a matter of picking them off to win the level. Well, hopefully Metroids don't prove to be a problem later in this challenge, because I'd like to not have to pull out another player for more. In this weird gimmick of a stage called Mission 14, you need to protect your allies from falling victim to Metroids. Once they are grabbed, you have 10 seconds to shoot the Metroid to free them. Hilariously, though, as you don't harm the Metroids by shooting them, this level plays almost exactly the same. There are enemies that spawn at the 1 minute and 30-second marks, but by standing just about here, you can completely ignore them. Other than that, it's a matter of placing your shots correctly to free your allies for another victory. Sure, us standing here sort of cheesed the level, but at least it made what would have otherwise been a really difficult level really easy instead. You start the level fighting a Metroid. Multiplayer is required for this one. We additionally have flying Zebesians, which make life a lot more annoying, as blasting stuff on 3 axes of position is way harder than 2. Like with regular Zebesians, you can only really harm them while they are attacking, but due to their flying nature, you will also need to lead their shot to where they will be, rather than where they are. It might not be applicable in this level, but it'll be relevant soon enough. Really difficult, but not impossible. Mission 16 is already proven possible with only charge shots due to the mastery rank condition requiring us to do no harm. Next. Mission 17 is very annoying to play. Every enemy is airborne and in the final wave features 2 Cyclone Queens, snipers, and flying Zebesians. My best piece of advice is to use the tunnels to your advantage. They provide excellent cover and allow you to see what the enemies are doing. It'll take a while to pick them off, but it's ultimately the safest option. Hilariously, you can manipulate the enemy AI so that they dunk themselves into the purple sludge on the outside of the stage. This is just simple damage aversion from the AoE blast, but it can just lead them to take all the damage in the world to them. Anywho, come the final wave, focus on the snipers first, then the Zebesians, and then the Cyclone Queens. Just be patient with it though, as this mission takes a while to go through, and the Cyclone Queens will be at their worst, essentially forcing you into the tunnels until all the other threats are neutralized. It's another token level. Woohoo! This time there are Metroids, but you can dodge out of the way to not get latched onto. Next. In Mission 19, we are introduced to the double-sided Zebesians, which honestly are fought the same exact way as the normal ones, except that when trying to hit the weak point on their back, just shoot the boom boom ball behind them and then detonate while they are attacking you. The other Zebesians, though, they make this level way harder. You don't have any good cover to protect yourself, and due to how you attack, they are also hard to hit. All I can really say is get good at dodging and eventually you'll beat it. I know that isn't the best advice, but my advice from before holds true. If it does become too much, the corner towers have warp pads you can use to temporarily lose aggression from them. That is the extent of your utility though, so just stick with it and you can succeed. It's time for a proper fight with Ridley in the 3 phases he brings in Mission 20, the final battle. For the first phase, it's exactly like our encounter with him in Mission 7, so we can finally go over in detail what we need to do. Ridley, at the start of the battle, has 3 weak points, that being the chest, the mouth, and the tail. Excluding the chest, every weak point in this phase and future phases gives Ridley an additional attack that we will have to deal with. To reiterate a point from before, only one of these weak spots can be harmed per blast. In his base kit, he can fire bursts of lasers from his mouth at us in 3 attacks, aiming where the player is with a small amount of shot deviation. It is best to sidestep these, as moving only backwards could land you in a dangerous position. The other attack is a spray of homing missiles everywhere, with a couple locking onto you. You can either shoot a bomb in the air and detonate it to get rid of said missiles, or alternatively, sidestep enough to dodge them. As for weak point specific attacks, as long as the head remains, Ridley can shoot a laser beam. It has a bit of a charge up, so you'll know it is coming, and I suggest doing a dodge roll through it to avoid getting hit. The tail, on the other hand, is, well, Ridley launching his tail at you. It is a bit slow and takes a while to get unstuck, giving you an easy opportunity to deal damage. In Phase 2, Ridley can use his right hand to attempt to grab you. You can dodge roll at the correct time to avoid getting grabbed, but if you are grabbed, it is almost certain you'll get hit. The only way out without taking damage is if you already have a bomb out on the field that happens to hit Ridley while you are grabbed. Otherwise, you cannot charge a bomb fast enough to break free. In Phase 3, Ridley can use his left hand to fire off a machine gun volley of lasers, which can be tough to avoid. As with his other attacks, strafing to the sides help, but be sure to mix in some dodge rolls as well. Both his hands have a very obvious tell, as Ridley will likely be closer to the height you are while trying to do these attacks. The outright best way to avoid these is to damage the hands before they can really do much. Do keep in mind, though, that if you somehow hit the body first, the hands will be immune to the explosion, so time it correctly. Other than that, it takes 3 shots to damage the weak points on the back into the next phase, so do that 3 times and you will succeed. So, with that, we've beaten all 20 levels in the game with short shots only. Sure, we had to utilize some multiplayer on 2 of the levels, but it was simple enough. Well, hopefully Metroids don't prove to be a problem later in this challenge, because I'd like to not have to pull out another player for more. What was that? At least it made what would have otherwise been a really difficult level really easy instead. Wait. You aren't saying that, are you? This level is over fast enough. Oh. Oh no. Let's get into the real challenges of this video. Starting off with the hard mode version of Mission 11, we see the introduction of timers and non-token levels. Thankfully, the timer isn't a problem for us because it's still just Dreamers we need to defeat. I won't foreshadow any more though, this timer will be the worst thing about this challenge in a couple of levels. This is Mission 22, the hard mode version of Mission 20. Anyways, enough intro, meet the terror of the tundra, Ice Ridley. To start, let's go over strategy. As you can see in the footage, the caves at the bottom of the map are your friend, as they can block the projectiles and give you some cover to lose aggression from enemies. Enemies, I said? Yeah, because Ice Ridley will spawn flying Zabesians when switching phases. The last thing you want is for a giant space dragon to be attacking you while trying to deal with these lesser enemies, so try to pick them off while Ice Ridley's occupied with throwing a tantrum up above. Now for actual moves. The right hand grab attack is exactly the same as normal Ridley. The tail, however, is a lot faster on the deploy and retrieve, so you may need to dodge roll out of the way to not get hit. The rest have their own unique twist to reflect the name. The regular bursts of lasers now become a Gatling gun of ice projectiles with a wide, unpredictable spread. You'll need to time a dodge to not get frozen, so watch carefully for the perfect moment. The beam attack also freezes you, but that means, like with the Ice Zabesians, it's technically possible to avoid getting hurt. This time, though, it can be avoided by either having something between you and the hand, or being far enough away from the hand so that Ridley can't reach you, but close enough that Ridley doesn't fly towards you to reach you. Finally, the left hand will shoot 3 balls of ice at a slow rate at you, which is honestly less threatening than the regular Ridley alternative. It can still be dangerous though due to the size, so be careful. My only other advice to give is to stay clear of Ice Ridley after the phase switch if he's in the tunnels with you. He might get stuck and try to charge directly at you while raining down explosives. I don't think I need to elaborate why that's bad. With enough practice and patience, this challenge can be overcome though, leaving a pile of scrap that once made a dragon. Mission 23 is the hard mode version for Mission 13, where this time the Metroids are plentiful and the arena is pitifully small. As with before, you will absolutely need multiplayer for this level, as it quite obviously has Metroids in it that you need to defeat. Now for the problem. More Metroids spawn as you defeat them, which can result in a mess like what is on screen right now. This got to a point where there were too many to consistently dodge and not get hit, and with flying Ice Zabesians added when the counter for Metroids to defeat drops to 7, this becomes way too much for me or the help I had for the multiplayer levels. To add further difficulty, even if I allowed myself pickups, I couldn't get any to spawn in crystals. Not sure why there were none, and with charge shots destroying random hearts from Metroids, it left that potential avenue to prove the level possible as nothing more than a steaming pile of ruin. Finally, the battery on my Wii U gamepad is not stellar, shutting off after less than an hour of play. This made it hard to get much practice in, and with the limited time I could get help from my friend, I am going to regrettably throw in the towel with this level. But, it doesn't stop there. Mission 24 is the hard mode version of Mission 10, and it is the outright most horrendous thing I have experienced in this game. All it is Kraid in 5 minutes with a bunch of Cyclones and Missile Jammers. You can't play safe because of the time limit, and you can't play aggressively because of the additional enemies. Shoot. Like with Mission 23, I also tried for hours on this level, but unlike real-life time constraints being the problem, this is what people commonly call a skill issue. I've almost done it with pickups, and I have done it with the gunship, but the ideal run that I'm looking for is something I just haven't been able to do these past few months. So, I'll leave these levels as technically possible, but it isn't something that I can do. But hey, this video is titled, Can You Beat Metroid Blast with Only Charge Shots? The purpose of this video is to prove the idea of something being possible for someone to beat, even if I lack the ability to do so. With that all being said, I'll leave these missions as something for anyone else to beat. If you do, please let me know in the comments, and I'll make sure to leave a special mention in the description and create a community post about it. Now then, let's get back to the missions. Mission 25 is the hard mode version of, well, all the token sweep levels we've played. There are snipers, flying Spesians, and Metroids all throughout the map to bring a lot of terror. As with all others, warps and grapple beams are your friends. Just time your dodges with Metroid attacks to not take damage and you'll probably be fine. As a saving grace, an Isobesian can freeze the Metroid that has grabbed you, which will free you. Don't rely on it though, as random movement plus random aim can make it very unlikely. Not much else to say about this level, so Mission 26 is the hard mode version of Mission 14. What's different? Instead of regular Jammers and Zebesians spawning in addition to the extra Metroids, it's respawning flying Zebesians instead. Oh yeah, and also Ice Ridley is here. So the strategy for this level is not 100% consistent, but it is what I'm working with here. Start the level by hiding behind this pillar. Wait until Ice Ridley turns around and then start using your charge shots to free your allies from your Metroids, as the level name suggests. At the same time, make your way to be under this overhang. Should Ice Ridley be nice, he'll fly to just above where you are at, and hopefully not regain aggression on you. This will prompt him to do another fly around, and with luck, repeat the cycle. When the flying Zebesians spawn, you can also just be lucky enough for them not to be hostile to you. If they happen to start blasting at you, make small movements to slightly avoid them, but little enough to minimize the chance to, you guessed it, get the attention of Ice Ridley. If worse comes to worse, do your best to avoid Ice Ridley while keeping him away from the lava lake where the Metroids are. I've lost runs to Ice Ridley body blocking the charge shots, so do take measures to not have this happen. After a tough 2 minutes, you and your allies can survive and blast your way to the next level. Wait, hold on. In the footage, I spotted something unusual. A Metroid spawned despite a timer threshold not being hit. Rewinding a bit more, and Oh cool, Metroids can be dunked into the lava and be defeated. Wait, hold on. So, now that we know Metroids can be defeated if there's liquid hazard, we can properly tackle Mission 15. In Wave 1, there is a single Metroid to fight. The trick I found with this is that Metroid movement when charging to attack is just speed being applied to whatever direction they are going. If we redirect it by having them bounce off of a charge shot though, it can redirect them into the sludge, defeating them. The rest of the level is just flying Zebesians until the final wave, where it is 3 of our annoying blasty friends and a single Metroid. Take out the Zebesians first and then dunk the last Metroid, proving that Mission 15 is possible with only charge shots. Now then, back to your regularly scheduled programming. At this point, I can't easily link levels to easier ones, so let's just get on with this for Mission 27. We just have to defeat 15 enemies in 5 minutes. However, we have a lot of strong enemies like flying Zebesians and Metroids in a small space, so it'll be rough. Is what I would say if there weren't 2 snipers we could bounce between using grapple points to avoid harm for the most part, farming them and easily beat the level. Mission 28 is literally Mission 22 but with an extra Ridley rather than flying Zebesians. And I strangely find it easier. Don't get me wrong, 2 Ridleys is still really difficult to beat. I mean, like, look at this mess. But it also is really easy to have them lose interest in you. Flying Zebesians, on the other hand, will chase you down to the ends of the earth to destroy you. So like with Mission 22, the tunnels are your friend, and just take one of them at a time. If you get overwhelmed, hide behind one of the columns and stay safe as they lose aggression. For my attempt, I had some close calls at the end of the fight. Okay, maybe more than some. But I was able to defeat them both, closing off what is generally seen as the longest level in the game. Welcome to the penultimate level of our challenge, Mission 29. Despite the name suggesting familiar ground, we never played the gunship tutorial, so this ground is very unfamiliar to us. There are 100 enemies this time, so let's go over the waves individually. At the beginning, we have a slew of Geemers to take down, but seeing as all but one have a single point of health, it is no trouble. In Wave 2, grounded Zebesians of most kinds patrol and scan around for any sight of you. Defeating the enemy spawns more for the wave, so be prepared to take on a sudden influx of foes. In Wave 3, there are a lot of Cyclones in a mix of flying Zebesians that spawn after a couple enemies are defeated. My suggestion is to get rid of all the Cyclones before they can be a problem, and do the best dodges of your life while slowly picking off the foes. In Wave 4, there are 2 double-sided Zebesians and 3 snipers at the end of the corridor. This one is simple enough, so no need to worry about it. In Wave 5, there is another cluster of Geemers descending from the wall towards you. As an important note to have an easier time, do not cross the point where the ramp ends and enters into the room. I'm unsure if the barrier that generates there appears in Wave 5 or 6, but to play it safe, just blow them up at a distance. In the final wave, we have a mix of the worst enemies in this level all together at once. If the barrier hasn't formed due to not entering the room, slowly lure the foes over to you where you have some cover, more space, and less enemies trying to annihilate you. It might take a long time, but hey, I'm just being safe and using what I'm given to win. Welcome to the final level of the challenge. This, by all means, is the intended hardest level in the game. So what is harder than 100 enemies? What is harder than 2 Ridleys at once? What is harder than hordes of Metroids? let's do this. To start with, Ridley is invincible in this level, so our goal is to scrap Kraid. If you break all of Ridley's weak points, he will be stunned for 15 seconds and then regenerate all points to a single hit, ready to attack once more. We want to deal damage to prepare for fighting Kraid though, so retreat to the outer ring immediately and start chipping him down. The goal of this is to leave only one weak point on Ridley intact at red health, preferably being his chest for ease of hitting later. Once you have whittled him down, retreat to this somewhat familiar overhang and wait for Kraid to circle around. As long as Ridley doesn't have his arms, he will try to be relatively above you to attack, meaning you will most likely be shielded from any potential damage coming your way from him. This is why we are leaving the 1 point for now, so try not to hit it. Once Kraid is circled around, detonate a bomb in their face and, aiming towards the very top of the mouth, sink in 3 bombs and get ready for phase 2. As per usual, break the weak points, dodge the weapons, dunk the Zabezian, and when you are ready to deal the damage to the Kraid, open the mouth, dodge the flurry of projectiles from Ridley, sink the bombs, and retreat back under the overhang for phase 3, still not having damaged Ridley. As with the previous phase, break the weak points and dunk the Zabezians. You'll want to break all the weak points and Zabezians on the first 2 layers before continuing, so make sure you have all of that prepared. When ready, stun Ridley and grapple onto the middle layer. Your priority is to knock the Zabezian at the top off, but breaking some points is nice as well. You'll want to jump off at some point to deal with the Zabezian if it didn't fall into the lava, so make sure to do that before Ridley becomes a problem again. Other than that, it's a matter of going between stunning Ridley and breaking weak points until... So, to answer our question of the video, it's probably possible. Excluding the 2 levels that absolutely require multiplayer, every level is definitely possible with charge shots only with the gunship, and most likely possible with the grounded unit. There is the issue of Mission 24, but I have faith that someone will do it, if not me eventually. Now on to the credits, and all I really have is the Nintendo Land speedrunning community for the moral support and insights into certain inner workings of this game. There will be a link in the description to the speedrun.com page because I sort of got tired of using charge shots and have actually submitted quite a few individual level runs to the leaderboards. I'd appreciate the competition if you want to try, so check it out. If you want to watch the raw footage for this run, there will be a playlist in the description that holds just about everything I used in this video in case you wanted to view that, so there you go. Other than that, obligatory like and subscribe to show support, comment if you want to comment, ring the bell thing for notifications if you want to know when I upload. I have been Generic Mystic, and until we meet again on the interwebs.